everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Vita Luca, and well, here we are on my YouTube channel. And I had some issues going on for December with my posting. I was expecting this week's video to be a video about Fashion Nova, about another batch of clothes that I bought, but I never got them. But anyways, that's not what this video is about today. This video is now going to be the reasons as to why I moved to the Czech Republic. And so I would recommend subscribing to my YouTube channel so you can know about that video from Fashion Nova, as well as other stuff that I'll be doing as well. Just stick around. Let's have a fun time. Let's help me grow. Let's get this channel off the ground. Why not, right? So basically, when my husband and I got married, he gave me the choice of where we would like to live, whether that would be Canada or that would be the Czech Republic. And I know the number one thing that I get out here is, why did you move to the Czech Republic if you're from Canada? Like, Canada is a country that I want to live in. And I don't know what your guys' views of Canada is. It's probably like this great magical country, you know, still has free healthcare, whatnot, whatever. It's gorgeous. And it is in some places, but not everywhere. And whatever your views of that, I bet that's the exact same views that Canadians have on Europe. Because Europe is one of those places where we hear about, oh, you only have to work X amount of hours a week, there's free healthcare, there's free education, there's all these great and amazing things. And now we're not necessarily saying that about the Czech Republic. It's mainly about the EU. We see all these benefits with being EU and going to the EU, that, yeah, we want to get in on that because we don't have all of these benefits. My education alone was 15 grand and it was 1 year. 15K. And you want to know what? It means nothing in Europe. And it means nothing in Canada. Doesn't matter. It was just a big waste of money. So why not experience it? Maybe I'll go back to school. Maybe I'll do all these great, amazing things. No, I'm just over here working. Trying to make a living. Trying to find a job where I'm happy in, because now that I'm in a 2-income household and I wasn't just working to live like I was in Canada, because I'm not privileged. I didn't come from a rich family. None of that at all. Like, I am where I am today because of my own efforts. That's how I see myself. And that's how my husband is too. We are where we are because of what we've done. And yeah, there's no handouts from our parents, nothing like that. Yes, they might have helped us to get started, but to move here, no one helped us. It was all from our own, what we saved, what we did. And part of the reason why I wanted to move to the Czech Republic anyways was just because I knew it was going to be so much safer. And like, my husband's from Ukraine. We had very similar childhoods, if you could believe that. But you have to see it as the provinces in Canada are also kind of like the countries in the EU. You're all enveloped under one thing, which would be like Canada, but each province has its own government. Each province has its own rules. They have their own regulations. You can do certain things that you can't do in others. They dictate their own way, though we all fit under the one roof of Canada. And so if you grew up in Manitoba, you could have a completely different life than someone who grew up in Ontario or Alberta or British Columbia. They're very much like that. And my husband and I had very similar childhoods just due to the circumstances that we came from. And even then, where I'm from specifically, because I know lots of people think that Canada is a very safe country, and for the most part it is. As a whole, Canada is a very safe country. But if you break it down province by province, it's not so safe anymore. Because if you want to do that, Manitoba has a murder rate of 4 per 100,000 and it only has 1 million people. So as a whole, Canada has a murder rate of 1.6 per 100,000. But for that province alone, it's 4. Like, you see what I'm saying? So when you break it down, it gets different. And there's lots of Canadians who will say that Winnipeg itself is very dangerous, especially people who live there. 59% will say that Winnipeg is very dangerous. So it really just depends who you're talking to and whatnot about why. And so the reason why I left was because the Czech Republic is so much safer in comparison. In my opinion, from my experiences, I would say that the Czech Republic is much safer. Canada's number one crimes are all like violent crimes with murder, assault, sexual assault. They're all up there. Whereas in the Czech Republic, it's theft and political bribery, which only one would really affect me personally, and that would be theft. I don't even know what political bribery entails at all, really. Like, that's something that I probably will never experience, and I can't vote anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me. So to me, I just see the number one issue as being theft, and I'm like, hey, at least I'm not dying. Because we have theft too. We have jumpings, we have muggings, and these are all the violent versions of theft, whereas your guys is more like pickpocketing, or maybe stealing a car, breaking into an apartment. But your apartments are also much more secure than any apartment in Canada. We have normal doors that you can actually like slide a credit card through and get in. So it's all just relative to what you want. And so that was part of my reason for wanting to move to the Czech Republic, was because I knew it was going to be safer for me. I knew it was going to be safer for him. Because for me growing up, I always had to like watch how I spoke to somebody, read their situation, be sure that I wasn't getting like too aggressive or putting myself into a bad position with this person that they might harm me in any way. And it's not something that I have to think about out here. Like back in Canada, I would cross the street if a sketchy person was walking towards me, or a man, or anybody who might harm me in any way. I would simply cross the street. Here, I don't have to worry about that. Like, really? And I've had situations where I was like, if we were in Canada, this would have went so differently. But because we're not, it didn't go that way. And then, so it's not even just that, but it's like a relax on me mentally. Like, I don't have to worry about saying something to the wrong person, saying the wrong thing to the wrong person that might end up getting me harmed. So there's just like the safety element of it. But the only real problem that I have with the Czech Republic is the wages and the real estate, because they don't make sense together, because the wages are so little in the Czech Republic, but the real estate is so expensive, and that just doesn't make sense to me. That correlation makes no sense. But I don't think I would necessarily leave the country for those reasons. Like, yes, I want to make more money, but that doesn't mean I necessarily have to work for a Czech company to be making the money that I want to, especially being a Canadian. I can easily get hired in Canada and just live here and pay taxes to both governments. I'm working my way around that. I'm quitting a job where I get paid 22,000 crowns a month after taxes for a job that pays me a much more livable wage and is paying me more than I've ever made in my entire life. So I'm really happy there. So now I'm like fine and dandy. I am happy with my wage situation and everything. I just think that for other people living in the country, real estate doesn't make sense to me at all, especially in Prague. Like, real estate in Prague, I don't even think it's worth it. So I personally would not invest in it in any place that I don't think is necessarily worth it. And so I'm not. And so I'm solving my own problems. But those are like my main issues with the Czech Republic, and I've solved both of my problems there. So it doesn't really matter to me. But the thing that's also keeping me here is my children. If I were to have children, my children would have a much better life in the Czech Republic than they would in Canada. My children would be more set for life than they would be in Canada. I've met very intelligent Czech people. I don't think there'd be any issue. Honestly, my education system isn't the best, and I don't expect the Czech education system to be the best. But my kids would be more likely, well, my kids would definitely be bilingual or multilingual if I had them here in the Czech Republic. If I have them in Canada, they'll for sure know English, because you can't survive without English in Canada. I don't know how people do it. Somehow some people do it, but I don't get how they do it. But the French teaching, unless you put them in a French immersion school, they're not going to know French. The public education system doesn't teach them French very well. So unless they're in a French immersion school or they're living in Quebec, you're not going to know French. I'm an intermediate at best, nowhere near fluent. And I'm only intermediate because I had a great teacher for my grade 8 and my grade 10 French classes. Those are my most beneficial French classes of my life in Canada. And yet, I almost got a job with my very little level of knowledge of French. But my kids growing up here, they would for sure know English because, well, I don't speak another language to be able to talk to my children. So they would 100% be native English speakers. Then they'd also be native Czech speakers because I would put them in the Czech education system. So then they learn a difficult language. And then even then, you know, one Slavic language, it's a gateway to all the other Slavic languages. Plus, my husband's parents are Ukrainians, so they speak Ukrainian and Russian. And if we were to live here, because his family is living here, then they would also learn Ukrainian and Russian. Whereas if we were in Canada, they would be with my family, who only speaks English and a little bit of French at best. And so it's better. And then I know people who were in the education system here and they've learned other languages through there, or they at least got basic knowledges of it. And then even then, if I have my kids here, they will be EU. So they could go and live in France and learn French. They can live in Germany and learn German. The world is their oyster, really. Like, there are so many benefits to being EU. Personally, I wouldn't need them for myself. I feel like I'm past that point. But I think it would be very beneficial for my children to have those benefits and to be able to do these things. And then with that, if they go to the education system in Europe, they can also then go to a European university, no problem. And if they learn Czech, well, then they can just go to the Charles University, which is apparently one of the best universities in the world. Or it's the best university in the Czech Republic. I don't know. I've heard great things about the Charles University, but I've only heard that you get it for free if you speak Czech and you take your classes in Czech. And so, yes, if my kids are here, well, then they can easily go. And so that's part of the reason as to why I stay here, because I know it'll be beneficial for them. But yeah, so that's really the reasons as to why I moved to the Czech Republic, or why I chose to, because I easily could have just moved to a different province. And then again, my kids would have a completely different life than necessarily what I went through growing up in Manitoba. But I just think Europe would set them more, because if right now, if we were to have gone back in time and we didn't come to the Czech Republic, my husband would be Ukrainian. He would be a Canadian citizen probably in a year, because all you have to do is pass a test and pay $100 and you're Canadian. I'm really downplaying that. I bet the test is much harder than it is, but like, yeah, we would be living in like, I don't know, probably the Toronto area or the Vancouver area by now, because my husband wouldn't want to live in Saskatoon. And I understand why, or Winnipeg, like they're dangerous. I don't want him there either for his own safety. And then, yeah, like our kids would just be French and English. They would have to pay for their education, and it'd be quite expensive because you pay about like $5,000 per year. If you want to do a year course, then you pay even more money like I did. We'd be even more debt because of that. If we wanted to buy a house, though I would say that I would be making 3 times more of what I do here. My husband would be making 2 times more. So if we could essentially afford it, but it's also like we would be at a point where we would want to be getting closer to retirement by the time they were wanting to go to school. I don't know. We'd be living a completely different life. We wouldn't have traveled over most of the places that we've been. We wouldn't have seen them all. I wouldn't have seen Spain or anything like that if we chose to live in Canada. We would probably stay in North America, and I would just see more of the US and more of Canada, which, coming out here, I did have to see all the way to Toronto and Ottawa and Montreal for my visa. So that wouldn't have been something that we would have done unless we moved to that area. So yeah, those are my reasons why. That's kind of why I'm here. It's kind of why I stay here. And I'll see you guys in the next one.